Greetings, Earthlings, wisdom keepers, wisdom seekers. I am your astrologer, Tanya, and today we are talking all about air signs. I love the air signs. So if you are a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius, we're talking about you. We're talking about you. By the end of this video, you're going to have an overview of what the air signs stand for, who they are, what they represent, and what you, as somebody who maybe is an air sign or has a friend who's an air sign, might want to know about air energy, just to have a better understanding. So, with that said, let's get into it. Now, you probably heard the stereotype of air signs as being kind of like flaky or maybe just a little scattered and all over the place and not really like super dedicated or super quick to commit, and all of that can absolutely be true, but there's another layer to this, okay? There's another layer to the air energy. And that is intellect. The air signs of the zodiac represent intellect. They represent intelligence, not from the perspective of fire, which is a different form of intellect in the zodiac, more from a source of spirit and passion, but a form of intellect and consciousness that comes from thinking, from the higher mind. So the stereotypical notion, damn, you got brains, that's like an air energy. Like, they have brains, that's an air energy. If they're quick to communicate, if they have a lot to say and they speak quickly, they're probably an air sign or have their Mercury in an air sign. Because air energy in general, it is quick moving, and it does have a lot of thoughts in any given second, and it moves real quick. And if you're not somebody who can keep up with that, and you're in the presence of an air sign, it can seem a little intimidating sometimes. So if you're like not an air sign and you're watching this video to learn more about air signs, then don't feel discouraged if you're like feeling that way around an air sign. It's just their energy. It's not that they're trying to make you feel that way. It's just who they are and how they process. It's how they exist, okay? Now, going a little bit into depth on each of the different air signs, because it's so much fun. Gemini is going to be considered mutable air, so we're talking about modalities now. So you can have mutable, cardinal, or fixed energies in the chart, right? And I'll just break those down as I go through them. So Gemini, being mutable air, is going to be about that change factor all day, every day. They want things to happen quickly, and they want different stimulation happening at all times around them. Geminis are known to have ADD, or so-called ADD or ADHD. They're very like stimulated people in their brain, to the point where sometimes it's hard to focus on any given one thing because they have 20 things going on at one time in their head. And that's just the gift of Gemini, and a gift can be a curse just as much as a gift, okay? So love your Gemini today. Now, the lower vibe of Gemini is that they might be a little two-faced, okay? Because it is the twins of the zodiac. There is a high and a low vibration to any given placement, but the two-faced energy can be in and of itself a high vibe or a low vibe energy. Maybe they're just like two different people to two different people in their lives, because that's how the energy matches. And that's not a judgment. That's not something you need to hate on a Gemini for. That's just a Gemini. But on the flip side, the low vibe is they could be literally like one person to you and then go and tell all your secrets to somebody else and act like it ain't no thing, because to them it ain't no thing. It's just information. What's the big deal? They're an air sign. They're detached a little bit. They're mutable air. So they're constantly detaching, attaching, like on an intellectual level. They might not realize, like to their sister over here next to them, Cancer in the zodiac, because Gemini is the third sign, Cancer is the fourth sign, right? Going around the wheel. They might not realize that it hurt their feelings that they went and told, communicated, air sign, all their business to somebody else over here, say Taurus, okay, who's over on the other side, a Gemini. They might not like get that until Cancer communicates that to the Gemini brain. Then the Gemini brain will get it. Okay, so on the high vibe though, because we always end on a sweet note, Geminis are very intelligent. They're very like fun people to talk to and know and interact with, because they have a lot of different thoughts all the time. So it's like a child almost, and it does rule children in that regard of like sisterhood, parentship, sister connection, more of like siblings is what I'm trying to say, energy. So that's Gemini. Now, moving along to Libra. Libras are kind of like the sexy tricky air sign because they're ruled by Venus. So I should have said that Geminis are ruled by Mercury, which means that they're really gifted communicators as well, right? Just by virtue of being an air sign, but because their planet's Mercury, they can be very gifted communicators in how they approach any form of communications. Okay, now really transitioning to Libra. Libra, you're ruled by Venus, so you're gonna be like kind of like low-key the sexy air sign because you're charming, okay? You're Venusian. You bring in the pleasure and the sensuality and the complement to the equation because you are ruled by the benevolent, benefic Venus. So that's gonna have that effect in how you communicate with other people as an air sign. You're known as the social air sign who brings people together. You're like the romance pairer, like you've probably matchmade for people before. You can probably organize events like it ain't no thing, okay? Ain't no thing for a Libra to organize an event because they get how to put people together and they get how to bring pleasure to the experience, okay? They're very analytical in that way of air sign analytical in that way of pleasure, whereas Gemini is more in that air sign analytical in the way of communications and organizing thoughts, even if they're known as being scatterbrains, okay? Now, Libras are also good relationship people. If you have like a problem between you and another person and you have a friend who's a Libra, you can probably go to them and they'll help all y'all figure it out because Libras see every side. They're the diplomat, okay? They're the scales in the zodiac. That's their sign. They're like the divine scales. So they're also the seventh sign of the zodiac. So they rule partnership because that's the seventh house. But they also are like the turning point of the zodiac into a more mature half of the zodiac. So a Libra knows how to balance both sides, literally, because they're on the cusp of the two hemispheres that comprise the zodiac, y'all. Now, moving along. Oh, well, I should say the negative things about Libra before I move along to Aquarius. Libras, yeah, you're an air sign, so yeah, you can be kind of two-faced, but more in a way of like saying something to somebody about somebody else and you thought it was helping, but then it didn't help. But 9 times out of 10, Libras are very discerning people as well because they're just kind of like more mature in their air energy. So they're usually going to do that in a way that's tasteful. Libra is very concerned with being tasteful. So they could be like judgmental and superficial in a low vibe, might be more likely of a Libra because they just are so beautiful themselves and they might just like expect others to adhere to their own beautiful guidelines or their own beautiful kind of like expectations, okay? But they might not mean it like that, so just talk to a Libra about it if they're coming across like that if you can, because 9 times out of 10 they're gonna want peace because they're a Libra. Their end game is peace. They're not trying to be here to cause drama, okay? Now, moving along to Aquarius. Aquarius is gonna be the fixed, whereas Libra is the cardinal energy of air, so it's gonna get going with the communications. That's why they're such good like in between people, liaisons, right? Government liaisons and so forth. Libras make great liaisons. They're cardinal air. They get it started. If you have something real tense you need to talk about, bring in a Libra, they'll get the conversation started, okay? That's how they work. But Aquarius is fixed air, so it's stable. It's real rooted in air, the most like mutable of elements in some ways, along with water, one could say. But, you know, anyway, Aquarius is like, they're rooted in who they are as an air sign. And Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. In a more modern interpretation, Uranus. In a more ancient interpretation, Saturn is the ruler, respectively. But that means that Aquarius is going to be firm in their beliefs because they're an air sign, and air signs are all about thinking and beliefs, right? Not so much like beliefs like spiritual beliefs, but just thought beliefs, beliefs that they've arrived to from a place of logic or information. That is air signs, okay? Now, Aquarius is all about freedom, and that is because it's ruled by Uranus, but the thing is, it's all about the collective because it's an air sign. It's the 11th sign of the zodiac, so it corresponds with the 11th house, which is all about networks, groups of people, internet platforms, and so forth, technological advancements. Aquarius also rules like ETs and stuff like that because Uranus rules ETs and stuff like that. Other life forms, other energies, other technologies that are far advanced. The internet could be considered under this. It's a little old at this point. It's been around for a long time, so some people say it's not so much ruled by Aquarius anymore, but it is because it's social media and so forth and so on, and it's still a relatively new technology on the planet. But we're going to be seeing more and more advancements in these technologies in the next 2.5 years as Saturn moves into Aquarius, like late March 2020 as I'm filming this video. Point being though, Aquarius energy, it is, yes, a rebel because it's ruled by Uranus, and yes, it represents the collective because it's an air sign and the 11th air sign, and it's fixed in that energy. But the reason that Aquarius fights so fiercely for freedom and independence and unique expression, the freedom of that, it's so beautiful. I love Aquarius energy. The reason that it does that though, the reason it advocates for the other is because it ultimately is advocating for itself to be its own true being, its own truth is who Aquarius is. And it's an analytical truth, it's a mental truth. So from a place of brains, from a place of logic, Aquarius comes to this decision, this arrival place, no matter who the Aquarius is. Everybody has their freak flag, let them fly it. Hardly ever will you find a judgmental, closed-minded Aquarius. And if you do, it's because they have a lot of other fixed energy in their chart that is of different elements, aka different signs are stronger in the chart than their Aquarius energy. But Aquariuses, generally speaking, are very live and let be kind of people, and they're also like fierce warriors, but they do it in a way that's tasteful because they're an air sign and they're the 11th sign of Zodiac, so they're an older energy and they're more mature, okay, than say a Gemini. 9 times out of 10, it's just because it's older energy in the Zodiac. That's not to hate on the Gemini in any way, shape, or form. It's just an older, mature, more like centered in itself kind of energy. And it's fixed, so that helps with it even more, okay? So Aquarius people are also really good to talk to if you just need like a higher level of understanding on something. If you need to like understand something from like a different higher place, talk to an Aquarius, because an Aquarius will ultimately give you a unique perspective. It might not be like spiritually higher, but it very much so will likely be mentally or from a thought logic based place, a higher place from which you can pull information or experience from. Okay, so there's each sign holds its golden nugget, and on a low end, Aquarius energy can, yes, be two-faced because it's an air element. Okay, it can switch things up. They make the best liars because they're just cold air at the end of the day. They care. That's the other thing, like air signs in general, but especially Aquarius, they care about you, but they're not like attached emotionally like say a water sign will be. They're just not. It's not who they are. They can, if they're attached to you, they're attached to you, and you can trust that, what they're saying. But the fact that they're attached to you has something to do with your brains and your analytical ability, because that's what they value in others, is logic and analytical capability and uniqueness and richness of character, because that's just who Aquarius and generally air signs, but especially Aquarius people are, especially the unique factor, okay? So, yeah, I think that's really all the low vibe Aquarius energy. They do make really good liars if they want to, but really I feel like Aquarius energy in general is just really cool, and I think it's really admirable how strong most Aquarius people are. Even if I don't necessarily jive with what they represent, I just appreciate their energy. It's like very strong, and it's come to from a place of logic and thought, and whatever their logic and thought system is, that's how they've arrived at who they are. So I think that's kind of like the extra cool thing about Aquarius. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about your unique chart, I am available for readings. You can go ahead and DM me on Instagram, and I will get you in touch with that information, or on the YouTube, just email me, wisdomdrops, all Z's, @gmail.com. Thank you for choosing me as your astrologer. Again, my name is Tanya, and may the stars be with you.